You are listening to the Daily Escape Podcast with Sadie K. Frazier. This episode has been brought to you by Traveling Realms Media.
Hey, everybody. I am just stopping by for a bonus hello. It's not actually a podcast. It's actually just kind of something that I saw, and I wanted to maybe encourage you guys to join in it also. I've been following several different people, like I've mentioned before. Gabby Bernstein was one of them, Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher. And I've heard them all mention Mel Robbins several times, and she's kind of a motivational speaker. She does several different books. I'm going to look her up on Amazon here and see what the name of her books are. All right, so I found a few things on her. Looks like she's an American lawyer, television host, author, and motivational speaker. She was known for covering the George Zimmerman trial for CNN, and her TED Talks, How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over, and her book, The 5-Second Rule, have become really popular. So she kind of created or recreated herself after she suffered from depression and anxiety and was diagnosed with ADD. Some of her books are, like I said, The 5-Second Rule, To Transform Your Life, Work, and Confidence with Everyday Courage, Kick Ass with Mel Robbins, life-changing advice from the author of the 5-Second Rule. And then the new one is The High Five Habit, taking control of your life with one simple habit. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about here for a second. She has a challenge coming up. It's October 4th through the 8th, and I would encourage all of you to sign up for it. I just signed up for it. It's a 5-day free challenge hosted on GrowthDay. The challenge begins on October 4th. I'm going to share the link in any of my social media sites too. But it is app.growthday.com/challenge/high-five. So from Mel Robbins, let me read you this part. It was kind of a foreword and why she's doing this challenge. I decided to do this challenge and write my latest book because honestly, I was ready to give up. One day during the middle of the pandemic, I woke up and looked in the mirror and I thought, Mel, you look like hell. And I'm sure we can all relate to that, can't we? Especially if your business was shut down like ours and we were at home and just baking our way through COVID maybe. All the uncertainty at home and work was draining me. So at 51, I didn't really feel like reinventing myself, which is what all the gurus were saying on social media, and nothing was working for me. I know you get it too. The pandemic has been brutal on our emotional energy. Trust me, I felt it too. The pandemic makes us question our safety, feel anxious, worry about the future, and rearrange our lives at home and work. It's exhausting and scary. It felt like we were all alone and just dredging through, and the stress and anxiety just kept building and building. Worse, we were all so hard on ourselves and lost some of our sense and self and happiness. And then, looking in the mirror one day, I did the simplest and silliest thing. I gave myself a high five. That simple moment of encouragement ultimately changed everything. That moment led to a movement, to new groundbreaking research, and to my new book and this free challenge, The Power of Encouragement. So back to that moment when I was standing in front of the mirror. The woman in the mirror looked pale, exhausted, and beaten down. I actually felt bad for her. She was sad and lost. She was worried about her kids, her parents, her husband, her finances, her business, the frontline workers, and everyone on the planet who had the virus. But who was worried about her? She needed someone to cheer her on. She needed to be reminded of who she was and the strength inside of her. I wanted to give her a pep talk, but the words evaporated inside of me, so I gave her the only thing I had to give. I lifted up my hand, and I gave my reflection a high five in the mirror. Honestly, it felt good. It was a simple gesture, a high five, to encourage myself to keep going. Yes, it can seem a little bit cheesy, but please listen. During the middle of the pandemic, it was a simple act of kindness towards myself. It was an immediate optimism and a confidence boost, a jolt of energy and encouragement. I promise you need that too. The act of raising your hand to give yourself a high five is a form of self-care and belief. It's a burst of cheering on and an act that boosts self-control. Now, you don't need to give yourself a big, long motivational speech. The action speaks louder than words ever could. Research now shows that when you high five yourself in the mirror, you are fulfilling your fundamental emotional needs. You really see yourself. You hear yourself saying, "Great job, you can do it," or just, "I love you." And you are acknowledging your unique self because you are affirming your physical presence and whatever it is you're facing in your life at that exact moment. When you high five yourself, you're recognizing your own strength and potential. You take back control. You're saying, you can get yourself out of this mess. You can rely on yourself. You can seize this opportunity and meet this moment. You're saying, I believe in you. A high five to your reflection makes you feel like you're not alone. It affirms that you've got your own back, and you always will. It's just one act of self-control to get yourself back on track. I wanted to give you that gift and all the other habits that allow you to thrive during these difficult times. So please join me for my new challenge for free. It's my way of high-fiving you back, and please give yourself a high five today in the mirror. You deserve it. Mel Robbins. So if you guys love this as much as I do, then I hope you'll join that challenge. Like I said, go to GrowthDay.com and you can sign up for the Mel Robbins High Five Challenge from October 5th through October 8th. Now, as I read this, it really spoke to me because I'm sure that all of us can feel the things or replay the things in our mind. That moment when we looked in the mirror, some point during when you were off for quarantine, or if you continued to be one of the frontline workers who worked through this whole thing, I'm sure that there were days that you looked yourself in the mirror and thought, how am I ever going to continue to do this? I can't keep up with this type of whatever it is. I have to have absolutely broken for those patients that you tried to take care of and were unable to save, or the family members that you had to tell, I'm sorry, you can't come into the room because your family member is dying of COVID and we can't risk you getting sick as well. There's so many emotions wrapped up through this whole time that we've been through this last year. And I know that like some of the numbers have been increasing and there's more illness. I know me personally, I've known more people this time around with the second wave of COVID than we did the first time. I just want to encourage you, even when all hope seems lost, even though when it feels like the world is just at war, we can definitely do our part by just standing up and saying, I'm going to take this one simple act, this high five challenge, and I'm going to turn my own mindset around so that I can help the world get through the rest of whatever it is we're going to face in the future. So I don't know about you, but I've been trying to kind of fill my soul with the things that uplift me and not drag me under. I've been trying to listen to podcasts and other people who are influencers, motivational speakers, and just generally inspire people to do better. One of the ladies that I follow, her name is Mary Catherine Backstrom, and I first started following her because if you look up her very first video on YouTube or basically anywhere in social media, she made a fool out of herself in the Walmart parking lot by thanking a stranger at Christmas time, giving him a hug and thanking him for cleaning off her windshield. Long story short, it wasn't even her windshield. It was his. So she started off with this hilarious introduction to social media, and she's become well known now. She's just a regular person, but every time I watch her, I would just crack up. And she just really uplifted my spirit. She was on Ellen last year at Christmas time. Well, then the more I started watching her, I noticed these little idiosyncrasies in the things that she would say, and she'd go up and down, and she'd be up and down. Well, she finally started talking about the fact that I believe she has some I know that she's got depressive qualities, anxiety. I believe that she's got some bipolar also. And so she started talking about mental illness and how it's affected her. That was interesting enough to know that, hey, here's this, I wouldn't call her a superstar, but she was pretty much an overnight success with just that one silly video of an error that she made in the middle of the Wawa parking lot. And now she's coming back out and saying, look, I need to tell you guys what I've really been struggling with. You guys see me this way, but this is actually how I really am. So I just kind of want to read an excerpt from one of her posts that she recently posted on Facebook, and it's called Real Talk. It says, the last 2 years have done a number on my soul, my heart, and my mental health too. I know I'm not alone in this. So many of us are on the edge and teetering. Our brains just aren't wired to take in the 24-hour news cycles. Our hearts aren't made for this discord. Our spirits want to fight for the best version of this world, but we're exhausted by the weight of its evils. I look at how broken the world is now and how unkind we are to one another. Everything's burning on 8 different channels, and there's nothing but hate in the headlines. Several times a day I wonder, are we going to make it out of this? And then my kids had a visit from their very best friends, and for hours they just ran around our home, filling each room up with laughter. They are so pure and oblivious of this warring and chaos. Their innocence is a balm on my soul. And maybe it's naive, but I look at my children and I think, we might be all right. If we can hold on long enough for this goodness to bloom, these babies will save the world, y'all. They won't even know what they're going to be doing, but these younger generations, they will. They are gentle and good. They are empathetic and bold. They are smart, loving, and kind. They're justice-driven and sensitive, too. I truly believe they're the best of humanity. I guess what I'm saying is, don't give up now. Keep hope, my road-weary travelers. There's a light at the end of this tunnel. The future shines bright as the sun in our babies, and I think we just might be all right. I just loved that post when I read it because I thought, how many of us can relate to that? I know my kids are a little bit older now. I see hope in my kids and the changes that they want to make to their future, but now that they're having babies, I see that in my grandchildren as well. I see them being able to be gentle and kind enough to love anyone, to wrap your arms around someone who's hurting, even at a young age, and say, we are going to be all right. But the key to that is that we need to stick together. We need to do this together and uplift each other through whatever it is we're going through. So that's one of the reasons why I thought it would be cool to kind of get on here and say, hey, will you join me in joining that high five challenge? I really feel like we need to break through the self-doubt and take back control of our lives. So like I said, the challenge is a 5-day journey. It starts October 4th through the 8th, and I hope that you guys will join me on that as well. I also, like I mentioned earlier, I follow Amy Porterfield, and she's helped me kind of get my course creation ideas going and things like that. I took a 30-day boot camp on there, and she's been doing it for almost 13 years, and I see her as someone on camera who is 100% put together. She is one of the most beautiful women on the outside and the inside. She's very inspirational. She is so put together. Her words are perfect. She's used to being a motivational speaker. So when she talks to you, she makes you believe what she's saying. She speaks right to the core of your heart. And she's like, you know what? I believe in you and you can do this. And by the time she's done speaking, I'm thinking, I can do this. But yesterday, I got an email that said she had put out a podcast. Okay, great. I love listening to her podcasts anyway. Most of them are course related, business related, and things like that. But in that podcast, she bared her soul. Now, like many of us, she shared how she's been making it through. And it's not always what we see on the outside. So she said that as an entrepreneur and as a human being, I wrestled with my thoughts and tried to continue inching forward, and I hesitated hard before pressing publish on this podcast. But what made me finally click that looming publish button on today's episode was the people that she basically brings into her community and tries to help change their life through whatever venue that she's working on. So she says it was during her last 6 months, some of the most challenging months that I've ever had, that I realized I equated my worth as an entrepreneur and leader with my ability to finish. I felt the need to present as someone who had arrived. And for this reason and this reason only, I was worthy of my followers' trust. And that trust is so important to me. So when I found myself in a hyper-emotional season, that whole idea crumbled into 1,000 pieces. I had to relearn what it meant to truly lead and truly serve as a full-time human and not as a full-time figure. Because newsflash, that's 0% of entrepreneurs. 100% of us are flesh and blood humans with lives that are messy and thoughts and feelings that need untangling a lot of the time. So in that episode, she said she's drawing back the curtain to let you in on some of her most hardest days, the thought patterns and habits that kept her moving slowly forward, and what she's discovered about true entrepreneurship and leadership on the other side. So if you've ever questioned your ability as a leader or doubted your potential to make an impact because you're struggling with hard life circumstances of your own, I challenge you to pull up Amy Porterfield's episode, The Uphill Battle of Being Your Own Boss and How to Keep Moving Forward. And you can listen to that at amyporterfield.com. It's episode 398. Like I said, I wasn't going to do this podcast this week. I just put one out this morning, and I could have saved this for a later date. But when I saw that upcoming date for the High Five Challenge was October 4th, which is only 3 days away, I just decided, I feel like this whole week has been full of, some of those higher figures that I follow. And I'm thinking, man, if I ever reach the status of where they're at, I would be so happy in having my own entrepreneurship, my own business. And I need to get these things in my life in order before I can do that. But then I see them, and now they're coming out and saying, hey, you see this person on camera. You see this person as the voice behind your podcast. But here I am. In my own day-to-day life, I am struggling through these times right along with you. And I think for me, that really helped me see that we are all human. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to the song It Hurts to Be Human by Khalid and Pink, but you should pull up the lyrics. It's a cool song that just really makes me stop and think too that, it doesn't matter what walk of life we're from. It doesn't matter how much status you have, how much money you have. It doesn't matter that you don't have any money. Somebody that has no money but has happiness is 100 billion times happier than someone who has a gazillion dollars and is suffering through loneliness and anxiety and depression and is on the verge of suicide. So I guess I'm just encouraging you to be your true, authentic self in whatever form that is. If you're hurting, let us know. If you are happy, share your happiness with others. If you're not where you want to be, then work until you get to where you want to be. But the bottom line in all of this is don't ever give up hope, because we're all in this together. You are not alone in what you're struggling through. And I just want to encourage you to be the very best version of yourself that you can be and help others along the way. Remember last week I brought up on one of my, I was finishing up my decluttering series, but quoted a tweet from Success Mindset on Twitter, and it said, that risk you're afraid to take could be the one that changes your entire life. So let me ask you this again this week. What are you willing to do today? What soul work are you ready to complete to take the final step, the biggest risk of your life, to enact the very catalyst that will, not if, but when, that will be the change that transforms your entire life? Are you ready to do that today? If so, take that small leap of faith and join the High Five Challenge. Again, that's on app.growthday.com/challenges/high five. And just go to that link, sign up, and join me as we rediscover how to break through self-doubt and take back control of our life, even in the middle of this pandemic, even in the middle of all the shit that's going on in this world that we feel like we are just barely staying afloat over. I hope that you will join me week after week after week as we take the next steps in becoming more than we ever thought imaginable. On next week's episode, I'm going to teach you how to create a vision board and where to start with that so that you can transform your life into everything that you want it to be. Now, life's not always going to be fun. You're not always going to be happy. Your journey most certainly is never going to be easy. But my wish for you, my friend, is that I can provide you with hope, that I can uplift you, that I can make you laugh, make you cry, and most especially instill the fire in your very soul that gives you no choice but to scream out loud, I can do this. Yes, I can. So straighten your crown, take a deep breath in and let it all go, because I believe in you. You've got what it takes, and so do I. Together we'll make it through day by day and piece by piece until we're restored, healed, and find joy in the journey once again. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And like I said, do not forget to sign up for that 5-day challenge. I think this is exactly what we need, is a high 5 challenge to ourselves. Let's take back our lives. Let's take back control of our life, and let's break through that self-doubt and indecision once and for all. Hang in there and know that you're loved from here to the universe and back. Until next time, I'm unconditionally yours. All my love, Sadie.
Come out and play. It's Saturday, and I promise I'll love you much better now. The sour taste will wash away, 'cause I promise I'm better now. Wouldn't hold it against you if you say that you don't wanna get close to me, close to what we used to be. But I just feel like dancing. Are you feeling it too? Oh baby, won't you love me? Won't you love me? Won't you love me? Love me like yesterday. Don't you feel it? How it feels, babe. Won't you love me the old kind of new way? Love me like yesterday.
And this has been another episode of the Daily Escape Podcast. And I am your host, Sadie K. Frazier.